about breaking away, here is your first tip. Get a copy of your contract. What are the main pieces of a contract we look at? We are looking at your non-solicit. We're looking at your non-compete. We're also looking at any carve-outs and jurisdiction. So let's start with the first piece, non-solicits. A non-solicitation clause essentially says, hey, when you leave our firm, you are not allowed to solicit. Now, who could be in that non-solicitation clause? Clients, prospective clients, employees, independent contractors, vendors, and more. A lot of times a contract will say, if you were introduced to any party in our firm that you previously did not know of or have a relationship prior to joining our firm, then you're not allowed to contact them once you leave our firm. And if you violate this clause, there are certain things that we can do to be compensated for the loss that you've caused by violating it. Now, most time, breakaway advisors are looking at, hey, can I take my book of business with me? So if you want to know that, you got to read your non-solicit clause in your contract, if there is one. If you do have a non-solicit, you are going to have to be very careful about the conversations you have with clients you are servicing. Even during the time you're still an employee or independent contractor of your firm. Let's talk about non-competes. Non-compete is a non-competition clause. It essentially says, hey, we've put a lot of money in your development and we don't want you competing with us right next door. The more broad and vague the non-compete clause is, the less likely it will be upheld. The more narrowly construed and specific the non-compete, the more likely it will be upheld. So what are different things that go into a non-compete clause that make it more likely to be held? For example, if there is a jurisdictional limitation, for example, you are not allowed to commute within 50 miles of the branch office you're working out of. If there is a specific time, generally up to 2 years, where you are restricted from competing. Now let's talk about jurisdiction. Lots of different jurisdictions look at non-competes and non-solicits differently. In one state, reaching out to your clients on LinkedIn, not considered solicitation. In another state, it may be. Providing your clients your personal cell phone number prior to your departure, in some states, that may be solicitation. In others, it may not. Sending out a tombstone, which is a very popular way advisors communicate with the public about their departure. Some states, that can rise to the level of solicitation, and in some states, it may not. So it's incredibly important to understand what jurisdiction applies to your contract. We also want to look at when there is a dispute, who will be administering that dispute? Is it state court, federal court, arbitration, mandatory mediation? And if it is an arbitration forum, what forum is it? There are the more mainstream forums like AAA and JAMS, but there are some lesser known forums as well, such as religious affiliated arbitration forums. So you want to make sure you're very clear about that. And finally, let's talk about carve out. For those of you who went to a firm with a book of business, we want to look at whether there is a carve out or an exception to any of these clauses for the book of business you brought. Keep in mind, if there is no carve out, you may have just turned over your greatest asset, your book of business, to your employer for free. So we want to make sure that we're looking to see if there are any carve outs for your book of business or for any business you originate. And stay tuned for more tips for Breakaway advisors. Take care.